My name's Linda Schatz. I'm from Abington, Massachusetts. I've been in the Boston area my whole life, grew up in Dover, and the first place my husband and I moved to was Holbrook, and then got our house built in Abington. And I've loved art all my life. I grew up having a wonderful elementary school art teacher, and that sort of spurred on my interest in art, and I've sort of just carried it through my whole life. I majored in art in middle school, high school, and then in college, sort of doing the big think, what do you want to really do with your life? And I said, well, I don't know what I can do with art, but I don't really have anything else I really want to major in. So I decided to major in studio art, and then I got a bachelor's degree, a BS degree they called it, in studio art. And then there was the big question of now what do I do? So my parents were gracious enough to allow me to go to Rhode Island School of Design. It was a one-year degree, so I have a master's in art and teaching. And then, so I also teach at Norwood Extended Day, art teacher there, and right now. But as far as pursuing my own art, the way my biggest influence was when I was in college. I was junior year abroad, and they had just fresh flowers everywhere. And so I sort of got into the idea of painting flowers, and then also around that time I was introduced to Georgia O'Keeffe, and how she, earlier in her career, she did the flowers and she blew them up on her canvas. So rather than just doing some flowers in a vase, I would blow up the flowers on my canvas too, and sort of looking at the intricate parts of the flowers, and so that was sort of fun. And then to not just do flowers, like Georgia O'Keeffe moved on from her flower period, I also do nautical things, minerals, nautical, and I sort of sometimes do collages of things, but I'm always blowing them up, sort of getting into the nitty-gritty details. And then I went to a few trade shows and stuff. I saw the butterflies under glass. Actually, Rhode Island School of Design is I first got exposure to that because they have museums and stuff that had the butterflies under glass. And sort of fun, you get these glass encased butterflies, and you can really just look at them, and then I blow them up on my canvases as well. I like oil painting better than acrylics because acrylics dry too fast, and I like that oil painting you can go back into it and rework stuff. And I love back in the day I used turpentine, and it smelled so terrible. I always had a window cracked open. That was always the drawback of oils, and now they have the odorless turpentine. It's like a godsend to an oil painter. And I do also do ceramics. I teach ceramics, and I also work on the puzzles. I'm also teaching classes in ceramics as well. But basically, oil painting is sort of the love of my life artistically. The difference between abstract artist and an artist that's actually painting a specific thing is that I always wondered that question with abstract artists. How do you know when you're done? I know when I'm done is that when I sort of do, let's say I'm doing the flower, I'll do one petal at a time, and then I'll work on the background, and then if I'm doing, the other thing I just started is doing pet portraits, and so painting portraits of people's pets. And I will start with the face, and then the paws, and then the hind legs, and then the background. So I know I'm done when I feel like I've finished rendering the paint, the picture. I think my use of color really, I will be attracted to objects of bright colors. So if I was doing, painting a flower, I'll be excited about the purples and the pinks or whatever of the flower, and then I will try to really create that color on my canvas. I consider sort of the fun part of painting is trying to make that color. What do I have to do to make that color? Oh, this flower, that purple needs a little more red in it or a little more blue in it, and I really try to zing right in and create that color. If there's right now I'm working on a poppy painting, a painting of a poppy, and there are so many greens. It's almost going to be the death of me trying to do all these greens, all these different leaves. But it's sort of a challenge that I try to rise to and recreate it. And I say, okay, if I only do 1 square inch of this painting today and my working on it, so be it. And then it'll just take longer to finish, but ultimately I will finish it. So I think it's my eye, I love seeing, like when we go on vacation, I always go to botanical gardens. I love seeing the different flowers. So I'm just attracted to different bright colors, and then I render them on my canvas as I see them. You know, everybody has some type of a calling or a skill set or something that is really their strength. And so, you know, if I see somebody has like really strength in like painting or sculpture or something, I would encourage them. I think the seeing things and then wanting to render it or you know, that's sort of like I like to think that I have an artist's eye, and that sort of lends itself to photography. Like I go on vacation, I don't have any real need to paint like some artists do, but I have a great need to photograph and to really make wonderful capture with just that moment on the photograph. And so there's some kids, to be frank, that aren't that interested in art, and we just try to coax them along and give them encouragement. If they really do something fabulous, you know, really point that out to them and get them to have a little bit more of an appreciation. And there's other kids that just love art, and you almost don't need to do anything because they're just rolling along and loving it on their own. So this first painting is a painting of my cat Ginger. And the little secret of this painting is it's actually 2 photographs in one. I just absolutely loved the face of one, but the body was too foreshortened. She was probably like sitting like forward like this, and so then the body is actually from another, which I didn't like the face as much. So I had quite a bit of artistic rendering, trying to get the proportions right and everything. And then another thing is I had some advice from a friend that when you focus in on, she actually created a business with horses, and she does these huge paneled paintings of horses or commissions and everything. And she says that you want to focus on the pet, on the animal. So that background on the bottom, it was actually a runner, it's a table runner. Table runner, and it was more distinct, and so I blurred it all around just to make it just sort of a dreamier sort of thing, so that you focus right in on the cat. So this was one of my more frustrating, in the sense that I found out that stripes are very hard to do. You try to tape it off, and you think you got the tape down nice and tight, and it bleeds through a little bit. So I just sort of they're 2 pairs, a red pair and a green pair, and the pairs are sort of floating in space with the stripes, just for something. I was just trying to do something a little different. A lot of times when I focus in on an object, I don't have a background because they're just sitting on my windowsill or something. So I create a background, and so I just sort of thought it'd be sort of fun to try to create, you know, the pairs very realistically, rendering them exactly the way they look, and then sort of throw, I don't know, sort of a, you know, could be like the wallpaper of a house wall or something. But that's the sort of the little inside secret of that, is I hated doing the stripes. And this is one of the butterflies that I was talking about earlier that's under glass, and it was a black butterfly with all those stripes. And then I created the sky from a photograph that I had of something else, and then I just copied that sky. I wouldn't really have been able to create that sky with that much detail in my own head, I don't think. So it was much easier to to copy one that I sort of had in front of me. And one of the things that is also another funny thing about when you do real flowers is they die. So I render it, and it was a bloom just in that state, and I really had to make sure that on the drawing part, that I had every one of those little curls and stuff because then eventually it's going to change. It's going to wilt a little bit more and stuff. And the color-wise, though, it's pretty stark. And then that background is actually one of those little flip tables, sort of like the fake grain of a flip table. So that's what I put in that's what that background is. I'm honored to be, displaying my works at the Thomas King Library. I volunteer at Interfaith Social Services, and I work at the YMCA. And also the Quincy Art Association. I've taught a class or 2 there. And so I'm very familiar with Quincy, so going into the library, I think I was reading an audiobook or whatever, and I saw what a wonderful space with the artwork right in front and everything, and so I inquired about it. I've had my paintings displayed in Avon Library and the Sharon, Walpole Library and other libraries in the area. But I thought this was almost maybe the best opportunity because it's like right up in front. And as an artist, you know, that we're a dog-eat-dog world is sort of applicable to artists, is that there's a lot of artists out there, and it's always nice to get a little bit of recognition for what you consider your hard work that you put into the paintings. We're having a reception of the artwork's up for the month of January, and the reception is going to be Wednesday, January 8th at 7 p.m. and I encourage everybody to come. I'll bring some, you know, food and drink for you to, you know, enjoy while you're looking at my paintings.